Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 171. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Hey, Jay.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry.
All right, man, what'd you get down to doing this week, man? Did you do anything fun? Anything interesting? Did you do anything for charity? You philanthropic Phil, you?
Yes.
All right, man, what'd you get down to doing this week?
We did my annual MS City to Shore bike ride event. I did it with 12 other people, family and friends, and it is, near and dear to my heart. My Aunt Carol had MS and passed away, I believe in her mid-50s. I can't remember exactly her age, but I saw it for a majority of my teenage years of how this just deteriorates people, and it's really sad and unfortunate. So it's the second largest bike event in the country, so it's a big deal. It's a real big deal. There's about 9,000 riders from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, all the way down to Ocean City, New Jersey. And it was a gorgeous weekend. Beautiful, had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was, once again, literally a pain in the ass. 80 miles on a bike. It's only the second time I was on the bike all year long, so I was hurting. And it was a good time. Next day, we went to the beach. It was another gorgeous day. So a lot of fun. Great weekend.
For me, I did have some experience with bikes this week. Me and Lauren have been kind of going out, and we've been getting a little bit more active. So while we were on the road yesterday, we were out walking the dogs and stuff. I saw a bunch of kids on bikes, and I just grabbed Lauren, and I was like, watch out, hon, bikers. Because of biker gang. And those kids did. They hassled us, man. They hassled us. Kids have no respect.
Wow.
Like, there's nothing worse than being a 33-year-old man and fearing the 8-year-old riding past you, and and he stares you down, and you're just like, just let him go past. He's on a bike. There's nothing you can do about it, Dave. There's nothing you can do about it.
I feel like I've been seeing that a lot lately the last few years. I love it because I feel like my youth is now coming back in style again. Like biker gangs and shit like that. Groups of kids, asshole kids on the road. Like, oh, it's amazing. I used to be that kid.
And we've started it's not a diet. I don't want to say it's like a diet or anything. It's not like a lifestyle change or anything like that.
Sort of.
We've chosen to try to eat more plant-based meals throughout the week. So
right.
Instead of eating 4 meals where, protein is the main thing, where, a big hunk of meat is the big thing, we are going to do 3 meals a week that are entirely vegan, entirely plant-based meals. And so far, I'm only 2 meals in. But I liked them. So I liked them. We had vegan chicken and dumplings with, and I say chicken and I throw up the little rabbit ears because there was no chicken in those dumplings, but it was fucking delicious. I'll say that. And then today we had pesto grilled cheese with vegan cheese and romaine tomatoes and stuff in there. It was delicious. It was honestly really good. So I was like, okay, I can do this, man. I can do this. I haven't been like crazy hungry or anything. So just
there are a lot of good recipes out there. It's just that, it takes time.
We are using a food service because we're doing purple carrot. That's the one we're using. So that one, it's good. I don't know what the price is because Lauren handles all the pricing and stuff like that. But that's our journey that me and Lauren have decided to take because listening to our good friends over at the So I Married a Movie Geek podcast, Justin, he was talking about going sugar-free and stuff like that. And then I listened to his show this week or last week, and he was talking about a documentary called Fed Up, which is all about added sugar in your meals and stuff like that. And it got me thinking, and I was like,
And
you know what?
sodium too.
Yeah, and I was like, this is all stuff that like I don't need. Now the nice part is most of this stuff I don't have in my diet anyway. Like I don't drink sodas. I don't eat a lot of snacks and junk food and stuff like that. Cutting that stuff out wasn't a problem, but upping the amount of fresh fruits and vegetables, that's the tough part, because that's now I have to like plan ahead about like what I'm going to eat during the day, and I almost never do that. So that's
it does take a little bit of prep and time and planning,
Yeah.
and it's not that hard. Honestly, maybe a day, but other than that, if you do meal preps, it's pretty convenient in the long term.
It's going to be an adjustment for sure. And of course, the big thing is that I am pooping a whole lot more, and not like hot snakes or anything.
Well,
like these are not bad poops.
You're introducing a whole shitload of fiber.
I know, yeah,
into your diet,
And
so that's understandable.
My body's just like, purge, buddy, purge. My asshole is chapped. I got to tell you. And then
Those moist wipes are a lifesaver.
Yeah, I get them from my Dollar Shave Club. I get the moist wipes. So, and then this week I also was in a parade. Jay, I was in a parade. I went to my daughter's grade school.
God damn it! Was Super Movie Bros honored and you did not invite me?
So my daughter was in a parade for their school district's homecoming, and it was a very small parade, but she needed someone to walk with, and she graciously chose me. But she wouldn't let me do my Queen Elizabeth wave. Like she kept telling me to stop doing it. And I was like, whatever. So it was a good time. So, oh man, that's what we did this week. Let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
All right, Jay. So, what are you watching, man? I didn't get down to watching a whole bunch this week. Me and Lauren were gonna finish Unbelievable. We got past episode 3, which, you know, if you remember last episode, I did episodes 1 and 2. This time, I got into episode 3, but I found out that Shameless season 9 had come to Netflix. Me and Lauren had watched Shameless all through seasons, 1 through 8, and we got rid of Showtime to save a little bit of money, because that was
I did too a couple years ago.
we weren't watching a whole lot on there. So we just decided, since it all comes to Netflix anyway, we'll just wait for it. So yeah, Shameless was out. So we watched the entire season 9 all the way through. Again, just like all these shows that I've been talking about that are like in their 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th seasons and stuff.
It's amazing that they are able to pull this off still.
Is it still a good show? Yeah, it's still a good show. Is William H. Macy still fantastic? Is Frank Gallagher? Yeah, he's still fantastic. Is it a little melodramatic? Completely. Is it unbelievable? Absolutely. It's not the type of show that you're going to pick up now in season 10. You got to go back and watch the whole thing. You got to take the whole journey with the Gallagher clan.
Yes.
And you got to indoctrinate yourself from the beginning to the end. I would only say, like, if you're going to pick up this series now on Netflix, don't do a deep dive binge and start with season 1 and go all the way up to season 8, because you'll hate the show by the end. Watch a season, take a break, watch something else, come back, watch
I
another
agree.
season.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so that, other than that, man, that's really it. I watched Karate Kid, because next week we have our movie cocktail,
As did I.
and we are doing Karate Kid. So
Quite the delight.
it is. So we're not going to talk about it much now, because obviously we're going to be talking about it next week. But I did already come up with the cocktail, and you got to sample it tonight, man. So it's going to be something completely different, some type of cocktail that we've never done before. It is a cocktail that is, I believe when I measured it out, it was less than 80 calories, I want to say. So it's super
Very
low
healthy,
calories.
very light, very
Yeah.
Japanese inspired.
Yeah.
So tune in and you'll find out exactly what Dave whipped up for us.
Yeah. So Jay, what did you get down to watching this week?
Well, I did finish Unbelievable, and I did respect the show and how they were able to stay true to the true story of it, and not Hollywoodize the tropes of dramatizing certain things or
So wait,
making
we didn't
things-
talk about this before. This is based on a true story?
Yes.
I was not aware of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's how it unfolds. And it's one of those things where, like, you think it's going to be one thing, like this big reveal or big twist, and it doesn't really happen. It just sort of unfolds organically. And the detectives find that this was a serial rapist after all, and then he was in a different state, and it's just how the legal system works and how sometimes detectives can fail.
Spoilers, dude. I told you I was on episode 3.
Well, it's really not a spoiler, I don't think, and I'm not really spoiling anything, but, Toni Collette and Marette Weaver was fantastic. I really liked their chemistry as two detectives. These females have very strong, opinionated viewpoints and ways they go about doing their job very differently. Yeah, but
two
they come
grizzled
together
vets
and they do a great job.
Two grizzled detective vets who happen to have vaginas. Like that's the way they read to me. I enjoyed it.
Yes, and Caitlin Dever, she's a young actress and she's a gem in this role, a very complex role. I do have some issues with it sometimes. I do. But at the same time, I could be wrong. Being a male, she is a troubled youth individual. She does not have any family really. She grew up in foster homes and she has some serious trauma and some serious issues with her even leading up to this incident. So with that being said, I think it's 100% worth the watch. So go please seek it out. And then other than that, Dave, besides our movie cocktail, The Karate Kid, and our movies that we will be talking about later on, Ad Astra, and you will Rambo.
Yeah,
I did not see Rambo. I saw Ad Astra.
We'll talk about Rambo.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Rambo.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. A beautiful mess that it is.
Well, I know that you do not like that little show called Between Two Ferns.
No, I was
hosted by Zach Galifianakis. Zach Galifianakis. I still can't get it. Oh my god.
Today, Junior.
Zach Galifianakis.
There you go, Galifianakis. There you go. You got it. Yeah, I've never liked the show. It was never anything that was intriguing to me. I've definitely watched a couple episodes, and I was just like, cool, awkward comedy for a long time, and then you're gonna stretch that out into 90 minutes. I was definitely not interested in it. But you watched it, so what did you think?
This is genius. It really is. It's borderline like Napoleon Dynamite-esque in some ways, where it's very slow and dry. It's definitely hits the nail on the head with, exactly the tone of the show, and then streamlined with him having a goal of trying to keep his show afloat and how it became about and how he wants to be a primetime host and his ambitions. And they have a slew of celebrity cameos and they all nail it. I think they really did a good job with all the cameos, and they had a good fun time with it. And at the very end there, you see a nice little gag reel during the end credits of them breaking all the time, which is a lot of fun. So it's good fun. It's a short little watch. It's nothing long. It's only an hour and 22 minutes, and it goes by pretty quickly. If you like the show, you'll definitely love the movie 100%. If you do not like the show like Dave does, you will definitely not like this movie. So
fair enough.
Check out an episode if you haven't seen it before, and if you like it, you'll enjoy this movie. If you don't watch it.
Truer words have never been said, Crusader. Let's head over and let's get into some news. Jay, we got some movie news to go through. This is going to be a short little news segment. Nothing too crazy. The earth hasn't caught on fire. Warner Brothers hasn't been bought by Disney or anything like that. But first up, Indiana Jones has rehired. Am I right? He was hired to write the script. They didn't like his script, and now they brought him back. David Cope, who, if you are interested in David Cope or in screenwriting or anything like that, you can check out the Podfix Network show, Filmmakers Podcast, because they just did an interview with David Cope on their latest episode. So head over to the Filmmakers Podcast and check that out because they interviewed him. But this gives me a little bit of pause because isn't this the guy that wrote Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Jay?
It is.
It's that guy. I mean, he does not.
And he's done some trash, but he's done some great things too.
Yeah, and I wonder, like you and I were talking like pre-roll and stuff like that about like what makes David Cope, still part of the Hollywood machine. Like, why does he keep getting hired, especially by like these big studios and stuff? And I think it's because he delivers what's being asked. I think that's what it is. He delivers what's being asked, and he works with the studio,
and he works well with studio people, and and he's delivered a lot of classics. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when he first started off,
like the 2017 Mummy with Tom Cruise, he wrote that.
Not that one, but
he wrote Inferno.
Hello, 1993's Jurassic Park.
He did write that, right? And he's also been writing for the critically acclaimed TV show Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, with the ever lovely and handsome Chris Pine.
Well, it makes sense. He did the original Mission Impossible.
Right. So, I mean, the dude has some writing credits that are to his credit. Like they're great movies. He wrote the 2002 Spider-Man, for Christ's sakes. Like he's got so many good movies under his belt, but he also has so much trash under his belt that it's tough to really like filter through it all and and just, figure out like what you're going to get with him. Cause like Indiana Jones 5, it has to pop. Like it has to
be good.
It has to feel like the original Indiana Jones films. It has to, it has to point it out for its own flaws as well. Like, Indiana Jones is going to be 80 some fucking years old, and it can't ignore that stuff. But Kingdom of the Crystal Skull feels like such a far removal of what those original 3 films were that it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward with this. I still, to this day, cannot believe that they're still moving forward with an Indiana Jones 5. Every time I hear news about it, I just keep, it's not that it like rapes my childhood or steps on it or anything like that. I just don't want it. I just don't think it needs to be made.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just a cash grab
thing
that Indiana Jones, is still, it's in the zeitgeist for a lot of generations. I don't know if they're trying to tap into the new audience and try and continue it in some way. I mean, there is things that you can do with it, but they have to find a way to do this without Harrison Ford. Look, at least going forward.
Look.
Or at least for the majority of this movie, too.
I made them kill off Han Solo because I didn't want to do it anymore. And now we're going to be doing another Indiana Jones. And while I love that character, I just think it's time for him to hang up the hat, per se. And
I need to buy another plane.
I'm gonna go fly, but I'm gonna drink a 5th of vodka before I do. So all you on the LA freeways, just look out, because here comes Harry. I've said it before. He is going to die in an airplane, and
oh my God,
I love Harrison Ford. He is my number one action star. He's one of my number one actors. I love the dude in films and stuff like that because get off my plane. But I kind of hope he crashes that plane before this movie gets made so I don't have to endure it and no one else does either. Next news story. So speaking of David Cope and his writing of Jurassic Park, I'm just using that as a cheap segue to get to this next news story. We just found out that the original trilogy of characters from Jurassic Park 1, Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, and Laura Dern, are all going to return for Jurassic World 3. Which has me extremely excited because we love those characters. I mean, we got Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm in the last Jurassic Park, but it was such a throwaway cameo that it really meant nothing. Getting Dr. Alan Grant and Ellie Sadler back makes me think that maybe they might have a larger role and maybe they might have a little bit more to do with the film. I hope so. I hope they're not all just 3 throwaway cameos that we don't need. But the fact that all 3 are willing to come back, I wonder, says something because Laura Dern has...
Oh, it definitely does to me.
And Sam Neill both have previously turned down opportunities to come back to the series.
And also because they dropped the short film, right? I do think that they have confidence with this script.
Right. We talked
Whoever
about
wrote this movie, I don't know what it is. They have a lot of confidence going forward with
we talked about it. We talked about it at Battle of Big Rock. It's the same the same screenwriter who wrote
Pacific Rim
Rim Uprising.
And then also the short film as well, but also is co-writing this one with Colin. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the fact that these guys all signed on for it has me extremely excited. I mean, especially Laura Dern. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, I mean, he'll do whatever kind of, but like definitely Laura Dern she's picky. She's picky.
And so is Sam Neill to an extent.
And you're right.
So like, I'm excited because both of them are coming back, because I feel like, I do think you're right. I think like Jeff Goldblum, not for like a paycheck, he just likes to have fun.
Exactly. I'm not putting him down saying that, but
he just likes to have fun. But having both of these two others come back, Sam Neill and Laura Dern, makes me interested in it. But also, like, I like the timing of it. It's just, God, right after Battle at Big Rock came out last week, they announced this.
Jonesing for
and I'm just like, man, Universal, you're just like... You're just like, you really want to make sure people are in their butts day one for this film. You're really pushing it hard.
They're tickling us.
Because, again, you only have two franchises to stand on. You got the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park franchise to stand on, because your movie monster franchise failed. And then you got the Fast and Furious films. Like, that's all you got right now, Universal. So you're selling it hard. And I'm fucking buying it. Like, I'm fucking buying it.
I am too.
Like snake oil salesman in the 1800s. Like, it's going to cure whatever ails you, and I'm like, yeah, it just might, because I was very sour on the Fallen Kingdom, but like everything they're setting up for this one, I was just like, bring me home, boys, bring me home, like, because I want this to be the best one of this trilogy, like I really do. Because
I agree,
because like we're like we talked about, I hope for the best for all films. I want a film like this to
and there's
succeed.
so much potential, right? Don't you think so? Like, I think there's a lot of potential where they can do something really interesting with it. They just have to.
I like where they left the end of Fallen Kingdom. I like the story elements that could add to this. So I'm intrigued by that alone. Even though I didn't like the way it was delivered to me, even though I didn't like Fallen Kingdom,
sure.
I like the idea that they went with. You know, at Battle of Big Rock, there's a few things that like I don't get. Like, how does like 2 to 3 dozen animals that are being auctioned in a basement of some rich guy wind up populating the entire United States and United Kingdom and stuff like that? Logistical questions that I have. However, you know, I'm willing to let that go if they're going to tell me an interesting story, and I really hope that they do. And I'm really hoping that this is going to be something that knocks my socks off, man. And I worry that, like, because Universal is pumping me up this soon, that I'm going to be really let down when I don't get what I want. But
this is part of what we do, and it's part of the fun of movies and what we do and talk about. It's the buildup. It's the excitement.
But they're also in uncharted territory, right? Because we've never gotten a good Jurassic Park 3. Right? We've never gotten a good Jurassic Park 3.
And that is true.
We didn't get a good Jurassic. We're hoping we get a good Jurassic World 3.
And they're on a downward spiral right now so far with the franchise, so they need to kind of do a little uptick, and right now it's working.
Also, I would go on a limb and I would say that if the third film is as well received or well received as Fallen Kingdom was, they let the franchise go away for a little while.
For sure.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
So it has me excited that all 3 of these characters are going to be coming back. I'm curious about the roles, and I really hope that there is a story element that is a reason for them to come back, not just that, hey, they're here, here's their cameo, and they're done. I want them to have some sort of role and interact with our main characters in some meaningful way. Next news story. So it looks like Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves is eyeing Jonah Hill for a quote-unquote secret role in The Batman. And for me,
I think it's secret for now.
Right. I look at Jonah Hill and I go, all right, well, there's a couple Batman villains you fit. It'd be funny if you were playing Bane.
I think there's two. I mean, I think there's 2 options. I think the obvious one, like you said before, you thought maybe the Penguin.
I said the Penguin or the ventriloquist.
I'm thinking the Riddler, maybe.
It's possible.
I'm thinking possibly Riddler too. So
I just want to see him as Bane though, where he's just like, I'm off the diet. Can you tell? Just Jonah Hill. Just coming in like,
it's not easy sticking to a regimen such as I was before, Batman.
it's like, these are two different universes. I don't even know what's going on. No, but I think the Riddler is a distinct possibility. I think that's a possibility. But I was looking, and I think as a comic book guy, I go like, all right, who does Jonah Hill look like that's into comics? And it always comes down to he's got a few extra lbs like myself, and it's like, so who are you ripe to play, the Penguin or possibly the ventriloquist?
And yet he yo-yos more than Christian Bale.
Yeah. And the ventriloquist is someone they haven't done before in the Batman
That's
series.
true.
So
that's true.
I think that would be kind of interesting to bring him in. Next news story. Further the Batman casting news, you shared this little ditty with me. Now this isn't a rumor. This isn't they're eyeing someone for something. This flat out they announced that this person will be playing this role. So
Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon.
So Watsu the Watcher. He's going to be playing Watsu the Watcher in Disney Plus show What If. I think it's just going to be a voice in that, though, because that's going to be an animated series. But he is going to be playing Commissioner Gordon. Now, is this interesting to you, or is...
I think it's a great fit. I
right.
mean, it's interesting because I do like him as an actor.
Love him as an actor. Only reason that
quite a bit, actually.
Only reason that I made it through Westworld season 1.
And that's a great example. Westworld. You can even... to be honest, I don't love him in the Bond series as like the U.S. version spy of like a James Bond or something like that. I don't know. He's blah to me in that role. But mostly every other role he does, he really brings a lot of something to it. I'll tell you, a lot of something. That's what I like to say. A lot of something to his roles. And I think as Commissioner Gordon, I think he's going to bring a lot of gravitas to it. And I think he's going to be great.
I think so too.
The only thing that matters is if that you respected him as an actor.
I just imagine right
That's
now,
all it mattered.
Like if you are J.K. Simmons, you were like, this happens, and you're like, what the fuck, you know?
Not my fucking tempo!
Which I understand because, motherfucker got buff.
No, well, he was already buff. That's just his... that was a big rumor that he was getting buff for that role and stuff like that. It's actually not true. He's actually is the type of guy who just takes care of himself that way. You've seen Whiplash when he snaps his fingers and he closes his fist and his bicep flex. That dude has like fucking old man muscles. Like
I could go gay for that role.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're him, you're just like, well, at least J. Jonah Jameson came knocking for J.K. Simmons. So
yeah, no, I understand, and this is the way the biz goes. But I think it's exciting. I think so far they have.
If you want to distance yourself from what came previously, you're not gonna keep J.K. Simmons in the role, 100%.
Right? No, I understand. But I like what they're going with as far as the chemistry and the actors that they're choosing, and so far with these roles and Matt Reeves' Batman saga coming up. So. Look, I'm still optimistic. I don't know about you. What do you think?
I say I'm hopeful. I want this to be a good movie.
And you're just still in that same lane, hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hopeful about like every movie, just about.
I understand.
Like I want it to be
pretty much
good.
until the first teaser drops.
Right. I want this to be successful, but I've obviously been wrong before because by all reports, like I was not excited for the Joker. All the marketing made me think like I'm gonna fucking hate this movie, and now everyone's like, no, Dave, you have to like it. Yeah. You have to. It's good, apparently.
And just like, Nick and I from, Epic Film Guys, we were really excited for Live by Night. And boy, were we displeased by that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm hopeful for this movie. I really want this movie to do well. Of course, Batman's one of my favorite characters. Of course, I want it to be a good movie. I don't go in there thinking that, but I'm just still unsure. I'm trepidatious about it. It's like I haven't seen anything. I don't know what's going on. It's a film that has gone through 2 different directors, has been put on the back burner 2 separate times, has had multiple people cast in roles, and then all that stuff's been dropped. It's been part of a universe, not part of a universe, and it's still languishing somewhere in there because we're not sure whether this is going to be a DCEU movie, whether this is going to be part of a DCEU moving forward, or whether this is going to be part of their Black series like they're doing with the Joker, where it's DC Black Label. So
right, I don't think it's 100%. I know Joker confirmed that it's not going to be a sequel.
They're considering that like a Black Label series, like the comic books and stuff like that, where it's more adult themed.
I'm pretty sure that this is falling under the possible sequel train.
Right, exactly. Where they want to. I mean, now this is obviously complete rumor and just my thought process.
Sure.
This is why Wonder Woman 1984 has been so delayed. That film has been filmed for a long time. There were leaked footage of that film almost a year and a half ago at this point.
Really?
Yeah, with her versus Tigress in a mall, and Tigress being played by Kristen Wiig, I believe it was. So,
what makes you think it's delayed?
I think it's
why?
I think it's delayed because they are going to be reconfiguring the way their universe is fitting together, and they're going to have to find a way to make Wonder Woman both part of the old universe and part of this universe, because they're not done with Gal Gadot, and that was a successful film. And the same thing with Aquaman as well. I really do think that they because you can't continue with those characters with those actors playing them in that same universe when you're going to say everything else is kind of now in a new universe and moving forward in a new universe. Same thing with Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, because putting the in front of it emphasizes,
of course.
I think the same thing, where it's kind of like it's halfway a sequel, halfway a reboot. They're kind of straddling their legs and going both sides. They have Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie still in the role, so they're kind of like in this in between where they're like the old universe still exists, but we're readying ourselves to strike it down any chance that we get, and that's why I think Wonder Woman 1984 has been so delayed.
And that's a very good possibility. I'm waiting to hear news from that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good theory. I'm just not 100% behind that.
Nah, you don't have to be, Jack. No one ever accused you of being a visionary. Next news story.
Good way to end. That was good.
All right. I love getting my digs in. Jay, Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell are going to come together right now over me, and they are and they are going to be doing a musical reimagining of A Christmas Story.
Oh my.
Now, the last Will Ferrell outing sucked, right? Like the Sherlock Holmes movie, that was fucking terrible. No one wanted to see that shit.
And let's be honest, Ryan Reynolds is not trustworthy.
Well, I mean, he's trusted to be funny. You know,
he's trusted to be himself.
Lauren was showing me a video that this week, I believe,
more extended versions of himself.
Lauren showed me a video. I believe Hugh Jackman was in Canada this week, so Ryan Reynolds showed up in the Deadpool costume, went to Hugh Jackman's room, and then while Hugh Jackman was recording a happy birthday video for somebody, Ryan Reynolds sat in the background as Deadpool, heckling him.
I need to watch this.
Right, so
is this out there?
Yeah. So like, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, did Ryan Reynolds, like, in the whole thing where it's like Fox didn't give a shit anymore, but Disney hadn't taken over yet, was he just like, I'm going to take as many Deadpool costumes as I can from the set and just bring them all home? Because he just shows up in places as Deadpool, doing Deadpool.
I've got no problems with Hugh. I mean, he's a delightful guy. He really is. True legend. But the movie, that was a career low for me. You understand. Anywho, why am I here?
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
He also was a producer on those movies, so he has a lot of clout. He can just do whatever the fuck he wants, really.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I just know, like, for example, Johnny Depp did that a lot with Captain Jack, with, you know, visits at the hospitals and stuff, one location. And I'm sure he does that as well in the Deadpool costume. But
showing up as an R-rated character at a children's hospital where kids are dying from cancer, as a character who survived cancer, you know, what's he going to do? He's going to walk up there and be like, "Hey, kid, I made it. Why can't you?"
He's done it.
It's pretty fucked up.
The parents would love it.
I'm sure
they'd be cracking up.
It just feels super insensitive to me. Like a kid's dying of cancer, and you show up as a character who survived cancer through magical means and mutant abilities.
Maybe he can only rely on Make-A-Wish Foundation then. Certain kids who have seen Deadpool and are allowed to see Deadpool can go see him and give visits.
So anyway, this is going to be like the 10th to 20th or 1000th time that A Christmas Carol has been done. My favorite personal one is A Muppet Christmas Carol. I love that one. That's my favorite one. It's my go-to Christmas one. I love it. It's got Michael Caine in it. So that's the one I go to. But maybe this will replace that come the holiday season. I'm looking forward to it.
Was Jason in that movie?
Excuse me a sec.
What are you babbling about?
Oh, Jason Segel? No. This was made in like the mid '90s. I'm up at Christmas Carol.
Oh,
No, yeah. Jason Segel was still he was alive. But
every time I hear
he wasn't
Muppets, I think of Jason Segel.
Yeah, well, that's because he willed it back into existence to make that movie a couple of years back. So
That's true.
Next news story. Final news story for this week. It's in the books. 2 movies came out this week. Ad Astra and Rambo Last Blood. But a movie came out last week that still beat both of them.
Lo and behold.
Downtown Abbey, the movie.
Oh my God.
Has beat both of the top competitors for number 1 movie of this week.
By a lot.
By a lot. Like, no one has gone out there to see Ad Astra, which I understand. Terrible marketing for that movie. That movie was not pushed at all on television. A couple online ads and stuff like that, but it was not a big push for it. But Rambo Last Blood, I feel like everyone's just like, we knew what we were gonna get, and
absolutely, it has a very specific audience, and that's
no one wants to pay for it.
No,
but Downtown,
nor do you have to.
But Downtown Abbey, man, you found out some statistics about Downtown Abbey, about the
yes.
who's seeing this.
Please
movie.
do not quote me. I could be a shade off or two on the numbers. 60% who went to the movie were women, and then 74, I think it was 74 or 76% of them were over the age of 35. So obviously,
makes sense to me. This is
the demographic is still strong out there.
Is there nudity in that show? I haven't seen the show.
I don't think so.
I've never watched the show, man. I know it's on BBC, BBC America here. I've never watched it, but I hear great things.
But you know what it is? It's sort of engineered in like the soap opera world, where obviously it is programmed towards older women. And, it's high society, it's very English and very, upper crusty kind of stuff, dramatized things and...
Crusty, just like the audience that went to go see it.
yeah, exactly. And, but people, I know people that love it. Mothers and daughters watch it, grandmothers watch it. Like, it's like a... It's
don't
like
make it out to be... I know a lot of men who watch this show, too.
Oh,
so
I don't.
It's not just a mother-daughter thing. I know some men that watch the show and are pretty into it. So
the only people I've ever heard about watching it was my ex-girlfriend and her mother.
Hey man,
that was it.
Happy Hogan in Iron Man 3 was into it. So that's going to do it for our news segment. Me and Jay got a couple beers to review, but before we do that, we got to get ourselves into a trailer park.
Thomas Iannucci, drop that beat.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Just when you thought the news was over, we got more news for you. So this news is actually coming to you after Jay has already left. So it's just me doing this news story solo. But while streaming through the internets earlier on today, we did find out that Disney and Sony have now come to an agreement, and Spider-Man will stay in the MCU for a limited time only. So there are some stipulations to this. It was decided by both Sony and Disney that the MCU deal for Spider-Man will continue only for one additional solo Spider-Man movie and one appearance in an MCU film. Now, how is that all going to work out? Now, obviously, I have a little bit of like conspiracy theorist in me going like, you fuckers have just been bullshitting us the whole time. But with nothing really to promote here, I don't exactly know what they would have gained by this publicity stunt of saying they couldn't come to agreement. So I honestly think that there was a time where they couldn't come to an agreement. However, looking back at not only the fan backlash for it, but looking back at the way Spider-Man Far From Home ended and kind of how they were setting Peter up in the MCU, it was clear that the MCU had more stories to tell with Peter, and it's clear that Sony was going to go in a direction where they really couldn't avoid having the MCU as part of it. So it seems like this solo film and one additional Marvel film, MCU film, will be used as a way to kind of bookend the MCU saga of Spider-Man, we'll call it. And people are rejoicing. You know, people are going to be happy about this. And I myself am quite happy about this because I think it's just going to make for a cleaner, neater story overall. So it's just going to wind up having better filmmaking involved with it in the end, meaning we will enjoy the films more that we get in the end. So I'm kind of happy for it. But what's more fun to think about now is how is the MCU going to spend their one Spidey token? Because that's the way I see it. They got one Spidey token. They got to use it in a way that's going to be both meaningful and something that will deliver much loved fan service, because it's really going to be, I do think, the last time that the MCU gets to touch the Spider-Man property. So that brings us to our question of the week.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
It just raises too many questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything.
So our question of the week, we reached out to people on Twitter and we asked, Sony and Disney are gonna let Spider-Man come out and play with his friends in the MCU. This playdate extends to one more solo movie and one cameo in an MCU film. So what we wanted to know from everybody was, how should the MCU spend their last Spidey token? Justin over at So I Married a Movie Geek podcast, he said, just give me Kraven the Hunter, for God's sakes. And I can't agree with you more, Justin. We've gotten a lot of Spidey villains over the years. We've gotten the Lizard, we've gotten Dr. Octopus, we've gotten Green Goblin, we've gotten some great villains, but they haven't delved into the great villain that is Kraven. I would love a Kraven This is the Last Hunt. I absolutely love that storyline in the comic books, and I just love the idea of this human who can match Spider-Man on so many different levels. And I even think that the perfect actor exists to play Kraven. And I really think that even though he's still Aquaman over in the DC verse, I still think that Jason Momoa would make a fantastic Kraven the Hunter. Movie Reviews in 20 Qs podcast. They said the good, the bad, the ugly. The good being Spider-Man, the bad being Wolverine, and the ugly being Deadpool. I like this idea because I like the idea of Spider-Man interacting with these two Marvel juggernauts. You know, people really gravitated towards these characters over the years, and I think that putting Spider-Man he is the number one Marvel character, right? Like, even though the MCU doesn't have film rights to him solely, he is the number one Marvel comic book character. And then runners up would be Wolverine, and then, you know, obviously Deadpool, huge fan favorite. So I would like to see some sort of team up like that. I would love to see him with Deadpool or with Wolverine. J.R. Lamar on Twitter said Spider-Man/Deadpool movie. And I think that would be a lot of fun. When these characters get together, it's your fun, quippy Spider-Man mixed in with, you know, your absolutely batshit insane, fourth wall breaking Deadpool.
Don't make me come down there, you punk.
Zip it, Stanley!
And there even is a pretty good cartoon of it. I think it's The Ultimate Spider-Man that was on Disney XD, where they actually do have Deadpool and Spider-Man team up. Last film scene, he said Doctor Strange 2 to set up the multiverse. And I really like that, because if Doctor Strange 2 is setting up some sort of multiverse thing with Marvel, there's no reason why Sony couldn't piggyback off of that, and having Spider-Man in the multiverse of madness being his vehicle into bringing Miles Morales over into the Sony live action films. Also, we know that Venom does not exist in the MCU, so the multiverse of madness could also bring about Venom it over, and that could be the vehicle that brings that brings Venom into our world. He also said Fantastic Four, assuming that film is going to be in modern day. I think that film would 100% be in modern day, and that also fits the Spider-Man character because Spider-Man multiple times throughout the comic books has stepped in and subbed when they were down a member of the Fantastic Four, most of the time Johnny Storm. And then he goes on to say Young Avengers or Avengers 5, depending on what they have planned. I don't really like Spider-Man going into the Young Avengers too much. He feels like too much of a big name player to really go playing in the sandbox with all the little kiddies. However, obviously having him come back for Avengers 5, that would be a big deal. I don't foresee them putting Spider-Man in any of the announced Phase 4 movies, only because those films are already being scripted. They would have to go back and write him into the film. I would prefer it if they kind of saved it and they put it later on in the MCU run. And then finally, Deus Ex Macchiato. He says, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, just let it die already. I am sick of Sony and Disney slapboxing over Spider-Man and us just gobbling it up like it matters. They're trying to troll us. They are manipulating us. And while I do agree with some of those sentiments, I do think that we gobble up news. Let's face it, we do a podcast here at Super Movie Bros, so this type of content generates our content. So yeah, I am gobbling it up, and that's fine. I've gobbled worse things in my life, believe me. So however you slice it, we are going to get more Spider-Man in the MCU, and I, for one, can't wait for it. I really can't wait for what they're going to do with Spider-Man in his solo film, which should be coming out in 2021. I probably think that the cameo for Spider-Man will come sometime after that in the MCU films, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure that there are going to be a ton more news and announcements about this. All right, so I've taken up too much of your time. Me and Jay gotta still get into that trailer park.
Cut the beat and let the music play. No trailer park, shout out to Dave and Jay. I don't serve, but there's a newer wave. We've been on since trust God save the right style. I don't wanna flow until I know that the bass drop.
Welcome back to Trailer Park. Me and Jay got two trailers that we want to discuss with you. I'm going to let Jay take the reins on the first one, which is Uncut Gems from A24, starring Adam Sandler.
You're taking my money all over town, placing bets.
I'm having very serious second thoughts.
Are you serious right now?
I know I fucked up.
Howard, where's the money right now?
Howard, got my money?
Howard!
Is it too late? I'm done. It means nothing. It meant nothing. Please. Give me another shot. You like to win, right? This is no different than that.
Black June power, nigga.
This is my fucking way.
You think I'm stupid, Howard? You and your whole fucking family. I heard you resurface your fucking swimming pool. You know how that makes me feel?
Never
You think your life is more important than my life?
I don't know who said that.
I told you about how things were gonna go. You like the way things are going now?
That's my family.
Get the kids out of the house. You having a good time?
Yes.
All right, Jay, Uncut Gems. Man, what's this movie about? What's going on here?
This is the third feature film from the Safdie brothers. They have also previously done the Good Time film that was starred by Robert Pattinson. Very, very good movie. We still need to get Dave to watch it.
No, we don't.
Everybody on Twitter, hit him up. Tell him it's great.
Yeah, no, I could care less. In fact, the second you said Safdie brothers, I was like, never heard of them. And you're like, oh, but they directed Good Time. You haven't seen Good Time yet? And I was like, no, I have not.
Exactly.
Have I seen a boring indie snooze fest? No,
this
I have
is
not.
not an indie boring snooze fest movie. This is fucking edge of your seat thriller indie shit.
I encourage everybody to watch this trailer because it's painfully obvious that Adam Sandler has stolen a role from John Turturro. Like it's 100% clear that he was made.
You're not wrong on that. You're not wrong on that. I will say that.
The entire trailer looks like he's doing a John Turturro impression the entire time.
I can't argue with you on that.
Yeah,
I can't.
You know what? Uncut Gems. The only thing that is cut in this movie is Adam Sandler, because isn't he playing a Jewish man?
Yes, he's playing a Jewish man.
So we know that he's circumcised.
He is He is a kind of a degenerate jeweler in the Diamond District in New York, and is set in this kind of, this modern era of just wheeling and dealing. He's
so for everyone who says there's
compulsive gambler.
There's no new type of characters in Hollywood. A degenerate Jewish jeweler.
Right.
Haven't seen that on film before. I'm being serious.
Well, and he's also a high-end one. He deals a lot with the rich and famous. Kevin Garnett plays a prominent feature in this movie.
He makes a diamond-studded Furby for a rapper to wear, and the eyes actually move. So, good on him, man. He's
look at that. But he's also a compulsive gambler with sports betting, it seems like, and also some mob tangles and just other kind of things throughout the city. And he's getting into some heat, and he's down to the wire, and he gets into some shenanigans, and it looks like it's a very heavily dramatic, edge of your seat kind of character study film within a very tight time space, I think. So it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm look, A24, we know that they have their deal with Amazon Prime, so I don't need to go to the theaters to see this. I just have to wait 3 months, and it'll be on Amazon Prime, just like all other A24 movies, and I'll happily watch them then when they're free.
Okay, that's fine. But you still need to watch Good Time.
Is that on Amazon Prime?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay, as long as it's free,
it is.
I'll watch it. You said it's got Robert Pattinson in it, right?
Yes.
Ah, great. Now I get to see him both smolder and swoon, as well as just be the most depressing figure on screen.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, this is a great movie.
Every time I see Robert Pattinson in something, I'm just like, oh, great. I don't know why, but I got to spend 2 hours feeling bad for him because he just looks like the type of guy.
It's free on Amazon Prime, so please go watch it.
He's young, he's good looking. I shouldn't feel bad for him, but something about his face just goes, oh my God, he needs a hug.
It's unique.
It's unique.
He has strong features.
He does. He's got the jawline and the head of a WWE wrestler, but he's got the body of a meth
To me,
head.
it's like the eyebrows. Like he's got those like thick eyebrows. I don't know. I don't know. He's unique looking.
All right.
I'll say that.
Let's get into our next trailer. The next trailer excited me a little bit more. It got a little bit more twinge in my pants.
Well, so I understand why.
Right, because it's something that you and I honestly bonded over. This is kind of like, I remember one of the first nights we hung out was we found out both of us enjoyed Breaking Bad, and you came over to my parents' house and we watched it in my old man cave up there in my parents'
memories.
house. Yeah, and I remember it was like the first time me and you ever really hung out other than like bar and drinking with like friends and stuff like that, and Luca stole your whiskey. He knocked the whiskey glass out of your hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, he totally fucking alpha mailed you.
Yeah.
But this, the movie is El Camino, obviously. Netflix original series, a Breaking Bad movie that's going to be coming directly to Netflix. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. There was a teaser trailer, but we didn't do a trailer park for it because it was
two teasers, actually.
Because it was honestly like just a very brief teasers with not a whole lot to it. This is giving us a little bit more meat. So let's break down the trailer for El Camino.
You ready? Yeah.
All right, man, El Camino, man. This trailer starts off with one of Jesse's meth head friends answering the door. Skinny Pete, right? That was his name in the show?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Skinny Pete answers the door, and there is this grizzled, haggard-looking Jesse Pinkman at the door. He's got long hair, he's got a beard, he's got fresh scars all over him. You know that Jesse Pinkman has been through some shit since Breaking Bad ended. They show like a shower, like the shower scene with him, where he rests his gun in the shower, so he's obviously dealing with some sort of trauma, and he doesn't want
I think a lot of PTSD and trauma. I mean, and I think we're definitely going to have to revisit some parts of this show just to get a refresher a little bit, at least towards the end of the series.
Yeah, catching you up on,
just to get a little bit more of a feel of he's been through.
There's YouTube videos out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Jesse Pinkman's story so far. Type it in. I guarantee you that someone has already done a video in anticipation for El Camino. But when we last left him, he was pretty much much enslaved by the cartel making the meth, and it was Walter who somewhat saved him, just kind of like and let him go. He didn't kill him, even though they were at odds with each other, and he ran off, and that's where the show ended. Jesse Pinkman got into a car, drove off as all the sirens were heading towards where Walter had just ended everything.
But he is a man on the run.
Yeah.
The police are still looking for him. They know he is not dead. He's still out there.
Right.
He's a wanted man.
We get images of, Jesse Pinkman wanted on the TV screen and stuff like that. We know that he immediately shaves and cuts his hair.
Yeah. And he's also joined by his old friend Badger again.
Because Badger's my favorite character in the show.
Yeah, Badger and Skinny Pete, man. He's got his boys back. But one of the great things about this is that it is written and directed solo by Vince Gilligan himself. So that is one of the great promising things about this.
It helps that the creator said, like, I do want to tell a continuation story, and he waited almost 8 years to do it. Is that about it? About 8 years? 2012 it ended.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, 2012, 2013 the show ended.
I don't think it's been 8 years, though. No way. There's no way.
Well, if it ended in 2012, we're coming up on 2020, Jay. It's been about 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
2013.
All right. So it ended in 2013. So it's been about 6 to 7 years since the show ended. But Vince Gilligan wants to come back. He's got a story to tell. He felt like he wasn't done with Jesse Pinkman. And I think as fans, of the show,
this is a story that I think is warranted. Yeah, I think it's warranted.
About Jesse. I'm curious what happened to him, and I like that they're not, shying away from everything that happened in Breaking Bad, but that they are moving him into a new direction. I think you were right when we watched this trailer. You said, like, this is going to be a story of redemption. And I think that that's 100% what this is going to be.
Yeah, I definitely got a lot of not just the PTSD and trauma aspect of it all, but the inner conflict of the past and then moving forward and redemption. So this is going to be released day and date October 11th in select theaters and, of course, on Netflix.
If it's on Netflix the same night, I'm not going to the theaters to see this. I'll be honest.
Oh, no. I mean, I doubt it will be in our local theater, but if it is, I will try to. I mean, I rather go to the theater and see movies if I can. So I choose to do that. But if it's not, then this is not a movie theater worthy movie per se, but I try to support the theaters. I really do.
You're sitting in a room with an 80-inch screen with an HD projector right there. Do
you want to have a date, David? Is that what you're saying?
Just to rekindle our first date, maybe. As long as we hold hands and we go waffle, because that's more romantic.
But I'll make sure Luca does not spill my whiskey this time.
But we also have to watch 2001 in here, buddy.
We do. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. So, look, I am excited for El Camino. I'm definitely day and date. I'm going to watch it the day it comes out. I don't know if Lauren's going to watch it because me and you oversold Breaking Bad to her. So when she watched
Classic.
she just got she was like, it's okay. It's good, but it's not great. Yeah. It's not the best show I've ever seen. But if you took the journey through all, 7 years? I think there were 7 seasons total. Technically it was 8 years because they took breaks. They broke the last season up into the first half, and the second half was almost 8, 9, 10 months later. So yeah.
And again, Better Call Saul, they did a fantastic job with that series. It's fantastic.
Still have not watched it. Still have not watched episode 1 of it.
I'll just say this. I did actually give up on it a little bit, but it had nothing to do with the quality.
So for me, Better Call Saul came out at a time where I wasn't ready to go back to a Breaking Bad world. I wasn't ready to go back to any of the characters there. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't want it. I felt like I was good with what I got. And now that it's been some time, I might go back to Better Call Saul because Saul Goodman was
pretty much only 2 characters, but it's the exact same tone as Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that, if you want to revisit that tone, go for it.
Look, I like Aaron Paul, so I also want this to do well for him because he's made some...
I know. We love him, man.
He's made some poor choices.
I know.
Need for Speed.
I don't blame him, though, because, I get that. You have Spielberg producing Need for Speed. The director was a stunt coordinator, so he wanted to do everything practical.
And then you find out that Michael Keaton's going to be in it, and you're
it's exciting stuff, but...
Poor guy.
It's just ho-hum.
We're also going to get him in 2020 in season 3
But you do get
Westworld,
to see Rami Malek ass.
Okay.
nude.
Wow.
So in case you really want to see Freddie Mercury,
sign me up.
Naked,
I guess. I don't know.
Sort of. I mean, I'm just saying.
He's a very skinny man.
Yeah.
There's not much of an ass there, Jay. You're not twinging the pants at all. I'm not pitching up wood right
It's
now.
a funny scene, though, I must say.
So that's going to do it for our trailer park, Jay. Let's head over and let's get into some of our beers. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got 2 beers that we are going to be reviewing for you, but before we do that, gotta drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water, drink that down, and your hangover starts to feel better immediately. So, if you went on a massively long bike ride for charity and are just a little bit over the hill and you got the aches and pains before it was all done and you had to drink a metric fuck ton just to cure all those old man aches and creaks, then the next morning you're going to want to reach for some Blowfish. So head to 4hangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish and get your 15% off.
I'm cured! Praise God! You're not cured yet, boy.
All right, Jay, you have a beer that you're going to be reviewing for us, man. What beer do you have? This one's very special to your heart, I feel.
Yeah, it's a New Belgium special release. It's called Oak Spear, and it's a bourbon barrel ale, and it's a collaboration with Knob Creek, and it is 9% alcohol by volume, and it is actually a better one because, you know, these are hit or miss for me a lot of times, and a lot of times they're high alcohol content. A lot of them has too much flavor going on. It always depends. But this one has a nice smooth marriage of a lot of different kind of toffee notes, vanilla, a little bit caramel. Not too much of the whiskey though. I was expecting a little bit more, especially with Knob Creek because they are, you know, 100 proof. But overall, this is a very nice little beer, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. Yeah, I like this.
All right, I like the way that you said that it's like that it's a marriage, because you know, Jay, marriage is like a circle. Marriage is like a circle. All right, and I am drinking the Boulevard Mosaic IPA. What this is from their research and development department, man. So this is the first release of the year for 2019. So this is probably fairly old, being as it says enjoy by 4/18/19. So yeah, we're getting to this one when it's fresh, but honestly, it hasn't done much to dull the flavor. It's 6.5% alcohol by volume, 50 IBUs, and you know what? It's quite delicious, man. I actually really enjoy this. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it so much because a lot of times when they do like their research and development stuff, like it always turns out to be a little bit too much of something, a little bit too out there. But this one I really quite enjoy. It's nice and floral up front. It is incredibly well balanced in the middle. It doesn't finish off too dry. It's kind of juicy on the back end, man. And that's from that Mosaic hop, man. I really enjoy this. I would be giving this a 4.25 out of 5, Jay. So
very nice.
Going a little bit higher than you today. So Jay, you and I got out to the theaters. You know, even though we talked about in news how Downtown Abbey was setting the world on fire this weekend, neither you or I went to go see that. So instead, we went.
Well, because we're now on menopause.
We've never seen a single episode of the show, and I understand it's amazing. I know people are, you know, it's like the high society Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So instead, you and I went out to the theaters, and we both saw Ad Astra, and I saw Rambo. So those are the reviews that we got coming up for you. Two films enter, one film leaves. These are the two films that were both number 2 and 3 at the box office this week because we did not see Downtown Abbey because you and I have no reference for the source material. But we're going to be reviewing Ad Astra, which is Latin for To the Stars. And I am going to be doing a solo review of Rambo Last Blood. So let's get into Rambo Last Blood. And let's get it over quick.
I had a family that I never thought I'd have.
Uncle John!
Until they took her. I gotta get her home.
You must really want this girl.
I'm gonna hurt you real bad. Death is coming.
Here's my very brief synopsis for Rambo Last Blood. John Rambo is a 72-year-old retired Vietnam War veteran who has done his fair share of killing, but now, as a surrogate father, he runs afoul of a Mexican cartel and must become the wall that Trump always promised he'd build. And that's the way I feel about this movie. Like, Mexico is this wasteland of just dark horror that, like, if you are to cross the border, my God, you are taking your life into your hands. Needless to say that there's hundreds and thousands of Americans who cross the border every year, go to Mexico, have a fantastic time, see a donkey show or two, come back, no worse for the wear, although they may never look at a donkey the same way ever
I
again.
guess we know who funded this film and who they voted for.
That's exactly what it feels like. I feel like I was watching this and I was watching, like, antiquated American ideals being portrayed by an antiquated guy who just doesn't understand the political climate of today. Rambo, it's hyper violence. It's short. It's 90 minutes, man. It's 90 minutes of hyper violence. Now, the trailer made you feel like these men were, like, you're going to be spending a good amount of time of Rambo at his house and stuff like that, taking these guys on. And that sounds like a pretty fun ride, right? Like Rambo maybe runs afoul of these guys in the first act, and we spend the second and third act taking these guys all on at Rambo's house.
Yeah, you think like initially, like, oh, he's the victim, he's trying to protect himself.
I might have liked that movie, Jay, but the movie I got spent the first two acts with Rambo going down to Mexico and causing havoc and just destroying people's faces with a hammer. Like, it definitely gives you enough blood and gore to satiate any type of bloodlust. And then in the last 20 minutes, he does his 72-year-old Kevin McAllister type Home Alone shit to all these guys, to a bloody affair. And the entire time he's doing it, he's not spouting one-liners, but it just feels like Stallone is just spouting these nice sentimental things that you think you'd want the character to say, but it just doesn't feel right. Now, it doesn't feel right to the character, not the character that I enjoyed in the first film, in Rambo First Blood. And definitely, it feels very much like a man who is just out of touch with what the world has become at 72 years old. And that's the way I felt while watching it. It honestly, it made me cringe a little bit while watching it. Now, is the blood great? Yeah, dude, the fucking gore is awesome. Is the action fun? Action is fun. It's there. But the story that they're trying to tell, it just doesn't fit. They never develop their villains much past just you hearing Mexican cartel and you go, oh, Mexican cartel.
Say hello to my little friend!
So you end up coming across with all the action sequences feeling empty.
Exactly. Now, it's supposed to be very personal because he's going after these people for revenge, but the entire point of Rambo was that he was a man who was made into a killing machine throughout the Vietnam War and just wanted to escape that. And then even at the end of the last Rambo that came out in the mid-2000s, where he returned from Burma and Myanmar, and he returns to his father's ranch and stuff, he was ready to hang up that life of killing and stuff like that, only to the second something goes bad in his life, the first thing he does is like, well, I'm gonna have to kill them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, one of them's gonna live. And that's the movie I got. I got completely backwards political statements put into a film that had zero character development and didn't even care enough about their main character to help them grow at all or explain their position any further than they all gotta die because they did something wrong to me.
All right, give us a grade.
D+. It was bad, dude. It was fucking bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not
sure.
F level if they didn't satiate my fucking Caligula level of bloodlust, then my
obviously that's what it's catering towards.
My Commodus, Joaquin Phoenix Commodus bloodlust that I have.
But even still, that only goes so far.
It really does. It really does,
and hence the D+. Because
I'm really tired of these stories of like a old man or like a strong fighter or something standing up for a weak woman and stuff. Like, it's very antiquated, man. Like, at no point in this film was there anything new that was brought to this franchise. So I felt like there was no reason for this film to be made, and with a completely weak script, awful dialogue, and zero character development for its villains and its hero, and it just wound up being a reason to watch some gore for 90 minutes, 89 minutes, short film. So that's it for Rambo First Blood, man. Don't see it. Just and usually I say, like, don't go to the theaters to see it and stuff like that. Just don't see it. Just don't. There's no reason to.
No,
we don't need this propagated.
We do not support this film.
No, just let Sly Stallone know that, like, it's time to hang it up. Keep doing your little paintings and writing your poetry and all that other stuff that you do, and maybe give us Expendables 4, because at least those I can say there's some fun to be had there.
I think he's done. I don't know why he. I think he just needs to make peace with Hollywood. Go out on the sunset, enjoy his life, enjoy his family. Just go.
Maybe him and
he doesn't need to do anything.
Him and Arnold should just sit on a beach together, smoking cigars
they
every
should.
day.
My God, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, just spend your days at
after all this
Beach.
time. Is that what it is? Is it just like the whole limelight, like the whole like mythology of like being in Hollywood and being in the zeitgeist still? Is that what it is? Like they're still craving that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's what it is. That and the paycheck, but like, really, do they really need the money? Probably not. Like, I mean, they're still spending so much time in these movies, not just making them, but like developing them and then promoting them. It's a lot of time.
It's tough.
They're old guys, like really old guys. I mean, I know they look good and they're in shape and stuff like that, but they have maybe 10 years left, like good 10 years.
You mean
like healthy good 10 years?
They're in their 80s at that point? Nah. Jay,
I'm just saying.
You and I both got out and we saw Ad Astra.
Yes.
We're going to do our best to try and at least be more positive about the next film, Ad Astra.
Well, I am more so than Dave.
What can you tell us about the Lima project?
The ship disappeared approximately 16 years into the mission.
And the commander was?
He was my father, sir.
Your father was experimenting with a highly classified material that could threaten our entire solar system. All life could be destroyed. We're counting on you to find out what's happening.
I love you. I worry about you.
Are you truly sure that you're ready to go on this voyage?
I'm ready.
All right, Jay, let me know if you agree with my synopsis here.
Okay.
Ad Astra. Astronaut Roy McBride doesn't sweat danger. He doesn't sweat marriage, and he doesn't bat an eye when he finds out his father, who disappeared 16 years ago, is alive in the deepest reaches of space. Now Roy, fueled by his latent daddy issues, must traverse the stars to find his father, who may not be the man he seemed to be.
Let's start this party with a bang!
I mean, obviously, this is kind of one of those things where they try to ground this film. I mean, it's certainly mismarketed.
They did.
The marketing has this hyped up to be a little bit more of a space thriller odyssey.
No,
and it's not that.
They
so
definitely
much.
set this up as like, here's Interstellar with a few more action scenes added in, and I was like, all right, I'm on board. And I really went into this film wanting to have a good time, but I also wanted. It's weird. I worry that like I went into this movie where it's like I want my mind fucking blown, and it's like it's not your mind that's going to be blown, Dave. It's going to be your emotions. It's going to be your heart. We're attacking you at your daddy issues, which I don't really have any. But
it's that, but also the visuals. It's very visually stunning, but also an interesting take on the potential of having us kind of have a bit of a society living on Mars.
Right. No, I mean, so the things
in the somewhat near future.
Watching this film, I realized that like first things first, I got annoyed and absolutely fucking hated the voiceover. I hated the narration by Brad Pitt the entire time through the film. I felt like the film
I was hot and cold on it.
The film was trying to tell me how I should feel about it, and that bothers me because the film should speak for itself.
Well, let me just say this. It's very Terrence Malick-like. So of his
100%.
recent films, there's a lot of calming voiceover of Brad Pitt talking about his feelings, his thought process of things are going. And first of all, he is an astronaut, and a la Ryan Gosling playing Neil Armstrong in First Man.
That was 100% purposeful. Yeah,
it's the same thing, and it's just how astronauts are supposed to be. As
Well-
very well accomplished astronauts, they have to have a very low, heart rate, and they have to be calm, stoic, intelligent figures
Brad
that are
Pitt
going to
and
be
Gary Gray,
reliable.
Gary Gray, the director, both like they
James
want.
Gray.
I'm sorry, James Gray. They wanted. I'm thinking of Gary F. Gray, which is
Yes.
James
This is written and directed by James Gray.
So James Gray and Brad Pitt both wanted him to be the Neil Armstrong type. They weren't aping the performance of Ryan Gosling from First Man.
Oh no.
They were purposely trying to draw parallels between Roy and Roy's father, played by Tommy Lee Jones, to Neil Armstrong, and that was a purposeful thing.
But it also
that they
makes
did.
sense because in my mind, that's how I would view a successful astronaut myself.
Right. They say in the film that like his heart rate has never
Gone
been
above 80.
Has never been recorded above 80. Obviously the entire film is about setting that up and then breaking that rule where he's going to go over 80 for reasons. We don't want to spoil it here, but here's the thing. When watching this movie, I was like, this is a movie that has a message. It just doesn't have a story to deliver its message.
True. And it goes on an odyssey, and the odyssey has an interesting path at times, but the path is extremely far-fetched. And the way they accomplish those things sometimes is extremely outlandish.
He's traveling to the deepest reaches of our solar system in what looks like technology that we could conceivably come up with in the next 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing it in a matter of they never say how much time he's doing it in.
No.
But I was like, this would take years. Like he would return to Earth and everyone would be dead. Like everyone he knew would be dead. He wouldn't have to worry about him or his father facing any type of criminal charges because everyone that they knew would be dead.
It's part of my flack with the movie. Yeah, a lot of my issues with it are similar things with that, with the story structure of it all, and how the practicality of it all is.
So while watching this, I was just like, I'm waiting for the next spectacle, right? Like I'm waiting for the next feast for my eyes. The battle on the moon, which I loved that little storyline aspect where it's like the moon has become a tourist attraction, and it's also suffering for lack of resources if you don't live in this Vegas-esque city that exists on the moon. So there are pirates on the moon. I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Really cool.
There's people who rejected the lunar society.
Yeah, it
that
looks
are attacking people.
Yeah, there's corporate signs all over the moon. It's very like we inhabit
the Wild West. They're treating it like Vegas,
absolutely.
like the Wild West. I like that. I like that aspect of it. But we didn't spend too much time there. But Jay, I also want to point out real quick,
and it is technically this is a mission movie.
Shout out to my dad and to our top 5 of last week because 2 of the Space Cowboys were in this film. Donald Sutherland and Tommy Lee Jones.
That's true.
Space Cowboys reunite.
Shout out. That's pretty cool.
But I mean, really, this film had a message, and it's very clear that the message is, father-son relationships. It's very clear that, both the father and the son have rejected human contact, rejected human emotion. I don't want to get into how Roy does it because it really is a character study on his character moving through the film and his realizations at the end. But his father has very much rejected society. He has no interest in returning home. He has a mission. Both of them are very mission-oriented people. This is our mission. Nothing compromises this mission. And neither one of them has ever stopped to understand what was really going on around them until Roy hits a point where he has to, and he must continue his mission, and it's put in front of him that maybe the mission is not everything. James Gray in interviews has said, like, it's not a movie that's about looking to the stars for answers. It's about looking within for your answers. Your answers come through you and your relationships that you
with
have.
Other human beings.
Exactly. And being this type of person who must complete their mission alone, being a lone wolf, that doesn't work. But I also saw it as a different type of relationship. I thought that it was no happenstance that Tommy Lee Jones appears in a scene standing above a character with his voice booming over, and it seemed like very much a God image, as if like God has left us. And James Gray says that people are looking to the stars for answers, while our scientists are looking to the stars for answers to fix our planet, to fix our problems, to fix our Earth. There's also others who are looking to the stars and praying to something to fix them, and that's not where the help comes from. The help comes from within, and it starts there. So all the problems that we have on Earth, whether it's our political problems or it is our environmental problems, the answers to them are not out there in space. They're here with us, and we have to look within ourselves to solve them. And it also is an emotional thing where you have a personal problem. You can't look outward for it to be solved. You have to first start inward and then move out. And that's the journey that Roy has to go on throughout the entire film. So when I said it's a film with a message, I got the message, but fuck, you didn't give me a fucking story to go off of.
I guess we can get into it a little bit more if we had some spoilers section going on, but
sure, let's do it, Jay. You love the visuals. I love the visuals.
Do you want to get into the spoilers?
Yeah, I'm going to do spoilers.
Okay.
Fucking do it.
Why not?
My show. I do whatever I want. It's our show. We want to do spoilers. We're going to do spoilers. We're going to throw up a spoiler warning. You talked me into it, Dave.
Okay. What's your grade, Dave?
So my grade is a B. It's a B.
Oh, well, I'm not that far off. I'm a B+.
Okay. It's look, I'm a B. I enjoyed the message that I got. I didn't necessarily like the journey, and I definitely didn't like the third act, but there were things in here to really, really appreciate.
I really liked the journey and the visuals, but I did not like the third act.
Yeah,
that was one of my bigger problems with it.
I didn't like my main character, and I realized after watching it, when I reflected back on it, I wasn't supposed to like Roy. Roy was not supposed to be. I was not supposed to resonate with him. I was not supposed to understand him. Him and I are not the same type of person, and that's not the type of story that they were trying to tell. I was not supposed to see a part of myself in him.
True, but you're also going and exploring with him to try and find answers.
No, I'm just a voyeur on his journey. That's all I am. I'm a voyeur on his journey.
Right.
And in the end, while I feel like this was honestly, this was a boring movie. Painfully boring. I can see why a lot of people are watching this and going like, it's not that good. It's just not that good. I also understand why people
disagree with that.
I also understand why people like you and some critics are watching this and going like, this is a great film, because it is great filmmaking, but it's not a great film. It's great filmmaking. That's it. I can recognize while I'm watching this that this is fucking gorgeous, and it has a message to deliver to me, and message received.
And I guess you could say that's why it's in the B category,
right?
For
but
me.
the story was weak. The story was pretty weak, and
true, it's a simple story.
It very much was, but it was just delivered in such a fashion where I felt like A, they could have truncated the storyline a little bit, but also B, they did nothing to draw my excitement in. I was not enticed by this movie. By the time he is at the end and completing his mission, I didn't care whether Roy completed his mission or not.
Okay, well, we're going to do a brief-ish spoiler section. So if you have already watched this movie, please join us. And if not, we will see you next week for Movie Cocktail, The Karate Kid.
All right, Jay, let's get into spoilers.
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
All right, Jay, let's talk spoilers. Let's try to keep this brief, because obviously you and I, even though we have very similar grades, we have very different opinions of this film.
To some degree. I think you do understand the whole message behind the film and all that, and I agree with that. I think for me, a lot of my my issues with it is some of the technicalities of it, like the actual literal science behind some of the scenes and some of the things like that.
Don't get me wrong.
Really bothered me, and it took me out of it.
We did an entire, top 5 of realistic space movies and stuff like that last week. I didn't want to get into like me being like, well, that can't happen in space. Like, you can't pick a fucking door off of a spaceship and dive through Uranus's rings and like Captain America shield your way all the way to your other ship and do that with pinpoint accuracy by doing that math in your head.
Sure. This movie, as simple of a story as it is, it did have a lot to go through to get to the end. And it was only 2 hours. So a lot of times it did feel rushed. Like, when
Jay,
he's
when
going
he first gets
from Mars
when he gets
to
Mars?
Neptune, it's like, you see a small little segment of him like losing his mind, but you don't really see him losing his mind.
Jay,
they just say that with the voiceover.
It's the 40 or 45 minute mark that they finally get that they get to Mars. That's not even halfway through the movie at that point. So imagine how much more they had to tack on to him getting to the end of his mission, to him finding his father. So it should be said that the reason he's going on this mission is because his father may or may not be the man that he was. The NASA has painted his father up to be this great hero who went and journeyed the stars.
Yeah, for the economy.
To find alien life.
It's better business to have him as being this hero instead of a monster.
Right, but it turns out that his father had crew members commit a mutiny, so he murdered them all in their sleep to continue his mission, which was to find life. And when his father didn't find life, he couldn't
accept it.
He couldn't accept that he failed in his mission to find life. But what he didn't realize was that finding out that there is no life out there other than us is just as much a mission accomplished as finding out that there is life. It just means that Earth and humanity is more unique.
As subtle as that was, I really loved that moment, and I think it was a nice touch because you don't see that usually. It wasn't a big hyped up moment. It was like, wow, what if that's all it really was? Like, maybe that's an answer itself.
Right, what if there's nothing else out there?
And that is success, right? And that's what Roy says in the movie where, look, Dad, mission accomplished. Right, but you did what you were set out to do. Find out if there was or not. And there's not. So let's go home.
But the point is, it doesn't matter whether there's life out there.
Not in their minds and not in that kind of complex. I mean, he's absolutely nuts, and he's spent his whole life to accomplish this goal to find life outside. Psychologically, better more than anybody probably. You find out there's not, you can't accept that. No way.
I do agree with you when you said that, like, I didn't like getting a voiceover of Brad Pitt losing his mind where he's talking about, first off, he's narrating very calmly about how he's losing his mind while I'm watching his character punch a wall.
Yeah.
When all I needed to do was see his character punching the wall, and I understand it.
Sure.
I understand that his heart rate's above 80 beats per minute at that point.
Yeah, the voiceover worked more in the first half of the movie for me, a little bit more. But and let's just be honest, like that opening sequence was phenomenal. That was really cool, really breathtaking, really edge of your seat.
But why was there sound in space?
Very interesting to see.
Why was there sound in space, Jay?
I'm not that savvy with the technical terms and reasonings behind it, do things like that. But visually it was phenomenal, and it was actually interesting to see that they had that tower go through. It starts on ground Earth and goes through the atmosphere up into space. That was kind of interesting.
Right.
You never saw that before.
I actually gave the sound in that scene a pass because I was like, they're probably not actually in space because I believe space begins at 62 miles above the Earth. And I felt like maybe they were just kind of in like the extreme upper stratosphere. So maybe there was enough atmosphere.
Perhaps.
But there are plenty of questionable sciencey things. But the most scientific fact in this movie, Jay, is that when baboons attack you, they go for the face.
You'll never know the simple joys of a monkey knife fight.
Thrust, parry, stab. Oh, he ain't pretty no more.
I wasn't expecting that.
I was not either. I was like, ooh, alien life? Is this movie gonna turn into life? Am I gonna get something exciting? Am I gonna get like Alien? And then I was like, holy shit, that's a baboon. And then you're like, oh shit, things on Earth can be just as scary as an alien out in space.
True.
Because a baboon is
it worked.
Fucking ferocious and terrifying.
That was scary.
It was a good moment. Look, man, I will never watch this movie again. 100%.
No.
This is not a movie. Comparing this to another movie that you and I watched earlier on this year, High Life, I am going to watch High Life again over this.
There's so many more interesting things in High Life. More. I mean, this is, I in a lot of ways, I respect what they tried to do with this movie. It's just a different kind of film. This is one of those classic things where it's probably technically a mid-budget film, and they spent a lot of money into the visuals, and you can see a lot of the parts where they did not put much money in.
Mars was where they did not put a
lot of hallways, a lot of like the ship and stuff like that sometimes. But
all right, make it red, make it look industrial, and throw a German Shepherd.
They put all their money in the beginning, the opening sequence.
Right, so real quick before we get out of here, did you get any vibes of Apocalypse Now when you were watching this? Yeah, so did I.
A bit.
Being on the mission to find the man who has failed in his mission and has gone, rogue. I was like, ooh, sure. Yeah, very much so. And that end conversation between him and Tommy Lee Jones, between Roy and his father, I really got vibes of Apocalypse Now when I was done.
Absolutely.
Like, where you can kind of like see both sides, where it's like, I'm not crazy. It's everyone else abandoned the mission. I didn't abandon the mission.
Yeah.
And it's like,
look, it's one of those things where like you're going to go with this or you're not.
Right. It's interesting.
And there's things to complain about, obviously.
It's interesting moments were too few and far between is what it comes down to. It saved all of its grandiose.
And I did not hate my time watching this movie. No. It was just one of those things where, it definitely has its flaws, but there were a lot of things in there that I did appreciate.
Its visual storytelling was done all throughout the film, but its grandiose character moments and storytelling was all saved for the third act. But they didn't do the building blocks, I felt, enough to make me care about either two of these characters.
That's fair. I understand that.
Honestly, I'm going to forget this movie. It's not going to be anywhere near my top films of the year. It wouldn't make my top 5 from last week that we did. Like, it wouldn't make my top 5 realistic space films or anything like that. It's not that. It's
maybe
not
like an honorable mention.
Not even close.
I don't know.
Not even close. Jay,
probably not.
Space Cowboys was better suited for my honorable mention than this was.
Fair enough.
So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. If you would like to reach out to us on the social medias, you can find me on Twitter at SuperMoviePod. You can find Jay over at the Facebooks. He runs our Facebook over there. It is
Super Movie Bros Podcast, and Instagram Super Movie Bros Beer.
Yeah, he just puts up a bunch of beer pictures and occasionally comments on things that I put on my Instagram, which is SMB Dave. It's not really for the show. It's just kind of me, but sometimes
shits and giggles.
Yeah, I just put things up from the show. I'm not incredibly active, so follow me. Whatever. Look, you're gonna do your thing. I don't care. But I am gonna beg you that if you are enjoying this show, please, for the love of all that is good in the world, and if you never want to see another Rambo film, leave us a 5-star review. Because somehow I found out that it works like a petition. The more reviews you leave us, the less Rambo will be out there in the world. So head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. It helps us grow. It helps us get found. If you're listening to us on another platform and they allow you to review shows, leave us a review, please. The more feedback that is given, the more people can find us, the more we can grow. We're also part of a network. We are part of the Podfix Network. So head over to podfixnetwork.com and you can check out all the great shows, including So I Married a Movie Geek and the Filmmakers Podcast, which we talked about both on this episode this week.
Oh yeah.
You can also check out Thomas Iannucci on Spotify. Make sure you head over to Spotify. You check out his music, and if you enjoy it, drop him a few bucks, man. He's a fantastic artist. We really enjoy his music, and we would love for you guys to support him. We also run a Patreon. You can find additional Super Movie Bros content at patreon.com/Super Movie Bros podcast. Currently up right now, we will have our Captain America top 5 Captain America moments with a Captain America cocktail exclusive to our Patreon listeners. So head over there if you want some of that additional content. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.